Hi friends! This is my friend Patch, and today we're going to read a little bit about Patch's story, his father Pongo and his mother Perdita, and how they met. All right, Patch, let's get you situated. We're going to read the story of the 101 Dalmatians. My name's Pongo, and my story begins in London. I lived in a flat with my pet, Roger Radcliffe. Roger, he was struggling to write the perfect love song. A love song! What did Roger know about love? I decided to help Roger find a wife. He needed someone, and frankly, so did I. One sunny day, I saw the most beautiful creature on four legs. She had a straight, pointed tail and the most magnificent spots. And the woman behind her was lovely as well. I knew I'd never find another pair like that, so I grabbed my leash and ran to the front door, and I began to bark. And as soon as Roger opened the door, I yanked him down the sidewalk and toward the park. I was determined for Roger and the woman to meet. When we reached the park, I dragged Roger after her, then wrapped my leash around their legs, and before I knew it, the two stumbled right into the pond. Suddenly, the woman began to laugh, and so did Roger. That's when I glanced at the four-legged creature. To my surprise, she smiled. That was our lucky day. The next spring, we were married, Roger and Anita, Perdita and I. One afternoon, Perdita told me that our lives were about to change. She was having puppies. I couldn't believe it. I was going to be a dad. Time passed, and soon Perdita gave birth. We had not 4, not 5, but 15 puppies. Then one night, a strange creature showed up at our happy home. Cruella de Vil. Cruella was one of Anita's schoolmates, and she wanted our puppies. I'll take them all, Cruella said. The whole litter. Just name your price. Roger crossed his arms. Never, he said. The puppies will never leave this house. Furious, Cruella stomped around the room. All right, keep the little beasts, she screeched. But I warn you, I'll get even, you fools. The little ones brought us nothing but joy. One night, Purdy and I went for a walk with Roger and Anita. We left the puppies home with Nanny. She had just put them to bed when the doorbell rang. On the porch stood a tall, skinny man and a shorter, rounder fella. Nanny tried to shut the door, but the tall one pushed against it and burst into the house. The two men locked Nanny in a bedroom. By the time she escaped, the puppies were missing. I knew I needed to do something. The next night when Anita and Roger took us for our walk, I decided to try the twilight bark. It was the fastest way to send news. If our puppies were anywhere in the city, the London dogs would know. Soon the sound of howling dogs echoed across the city. Finally, the twilight bark reached the country. A cat named Sergeant Tibbs heard it and woke his friend, an old English sheepdog named the Colonel. An alert! Colonel yelped. He listened closely until finally he understood. 15 Dalmatian puppies were missing. Tibbs jumped up. He had heard puppies at the Cruella de Vil's old place 2 days earlier. The Colonel raised a brow. Puppies at the old de Vil place? Strange. No one's lived there for years. We'd better investigate. At the mansion, light seeped through a small hole in the wall. Tibbs squeezed through it and saw a room full of Dalmatian puppies. As Tibbs watched the puppies, he heard two men talking. Cruella wanted to use our puppy's fur to make a coat. While Tibbs helped the puppies escape, the London dogs used the twilight bark to give us directions to the old de Vil place. The skinny man had just noticed that the puppies were missing when we arrived. Growling, Perdita and I crashed through the window. We would distract the scoundrels while Tibbs led the puppies to safety. We managed to get out of the place in one piece, but our trouble was far from over. We hadn't rescued just 15 puppies, but 99 puppies in all. Perdita and I knew we had to keep them safe. We'll take them all home with us, I said, somehow. Perdita and I guided the puppies towards London, trying to make sure no one got lost. But the snow made it impossible to cover our tracks, and we were worried we'd be found. It wasn't long before the puppies were exhausted. Luckily, a collie came running towards us. "Pongo!" he cried. Surprised to hear my name, I looked up. It seemed everyone had listened to the twilight bark. "We'd almost given up hope," the collie continued. "We have shelter for you at the farm across the road." What luck! A little while later, we found ourselves inside a warm and cozy barn. The puppies were terribly hungry, but we had nothing to feed them. "Perhaps the little ones would like a little warm milk," one of the cows asked. "It's fresh." "Milk?" the puppies yelped and gathered around. Purdy and I hardly knew how to thank the cows. The next morning, we continued our journey through the snowy countryside. We hadn't gone far before we met a Labrador. He had found a furniture van that we could ride home in. Just then, I saw Cruella's car coming down the road. We quickly hid in a blacksmith shop. As Cruella's car passed and I looked at the puppies, some of them were covered in soot from the fireplace. Then it hit me. "Everybody, roll in the soot!" I cried. "We're all going to be Labradors." Giggling, the puppies rolled into the soot. Cruella would be looking for our spots. She would never recognize us without them. The trick worked. No one paid any attention when I began loading the puppies into the van. As I helped the last few puppies, a clump of snow fell on Lucky, burying him. I quickly pulled him out with my teeth, but the snow had washed him clean. Our cover had been blown. As the van started, I tossed Lucky to Perdita and leaped up on the back myself, but Cruella was right on our tail. Cruella raced after us, trying to force the van off the road. "Hey, lady!" shouted the driver desperately. "What are you doing?" But Cruella just continued to ram the side of the van. Suddenly, Cruella lost control of her car. She crashed through the barricade and bounded down into a snowbank. She wouldn't be chasing us anymore. Tired and dirty, we made our way home. I was greeting Nanny when I heard Anita cry, "Who are all these strange dogs?" I had forgotten that our coats were still black, but Nanny had noticed the paw marks I made on her white apron. "They're just covered with soot," she shouted. Roger pulled out his handkerchief and wiped my face. "Pongo, is that you?" he said, grinning. Nanny grabbed a broom and began sweeping soot off of the puppies. "This is Patch, and this is Rolly, and here's Penny. Oh, my dear, they're all here." Puzzled, she gazed around the room, and there's a lot more of them. Anita and Roger began counting. Imagine their surprise when they reached a total of 101 Dalmatians. "What will we do with them?" Anita asked. "We'll keep them," Roger said. "We'll buy a big place in the country and we'll have a plantation, a Dalmatian plantation." Roger hurried over to the piano. He had written a song while Perdita and I had been searching for our puppies. I knew he had written his first big hit. Maybe we really would get a Dalmatian plantation. One thing was certain, Roger and I would never be lonely again. I know right now that with the quarantine, your visitors probably aren't coming as often as you'd like. Maybe they're restricted in numbers, I bet they are. And I know that you can be lonely right now, but just know that in our loneliness, we are together. And there are people who are out here still praying for you. And there's little furry friends who will gladly visit you over the internet anytime you'd like. So I hope you have a great night. From Patch and I, sleep well.